Wuthering Heights stands upon the bleak Yorkshire moors, a house both isolated and imposing, harbouring the tumultuous lives of the Earnshaw and Linton families, whose passions and conflicts shape generations. Heathcliff, a foundling brought to Wuthering Heights by Mr. Earnshaw, grows alongside Earnshaw's children, Catherine and Hindley, forming bonds of deep attachment and rivalry that will define the household. Catherine and Heathcliff's childhood friendship flourishes amid moorland freedom. Yet social hierarchy and parental influence sow seeds of tension and resentment. Hindley's jealousy of Heathcliff's favour provokes cruelty and humiliation, marking the beginning of cycles of revenge and suffering that will echo through their lives. Catherine's spirited nature and Heathcliff's brooding intensity intertwine, their love transcending convention, yet constrained by social expectation and personal pride. Despite profound attachment, Catherine consents to marry Edgar Linton, a refined gentleman from Thrushcross Grange, motivated by social ambition and material comfort, fracturing her bond with Heathcliff. Heathcliff departs Wuthering Heights, returning years later transformed in fortune, appearance, and purpose. His love for Catherine now entwined with vengeance toward those who wronged him. Heathcliff's return disrupts the social order, as he acquires Wuthering Heights through cunning and coercion, asserting power over Hindley and reclaiming agency over his environment. The moors reflect the character's emotional turbulence, vast, wild and untamed, echoing Heathcliff and Catherine's passion, freedom and destructiveness. Catherine's inner conflict between desire and social ambition intensifies, her health and disposition affected by emotional strain, producing both ecstasy and torment in her relationship with Heathcliff. Heathcliff seeks retribution against Hindley, Edgar, and all associated with social structures that separated him from Catherine, his plans executed with methodical cruelty and psychological insight. Edgar Linton embodies civility, restraint, and gentility, contrasting with Heathcliff's raw passion and ferocity, highlighting the conflict between social propriety and primal desire. Catherine's illness and death mark a pivotal moment, intensifying Heathcliff's obsession and catalyzing his unrelenting pursuit of vengeance upon both family and estate. Heathcliff manipulates the next generation, ensnaring Hindley's son, Hareton, and Edgar's daughter, Cathy, into complex dynamics of power, revenge, and education, molding futures to mirror past suffering. Cathy, young and spirited, becomes the object of Heathcliff's fascination and eventual empathy, her resemblance to her mother stirring both tenderness and rage. Heathcliff's love for Catherine persists beyond her death, manifesting in mourning, obsession, and supernatural preoccupation. The boundaries of life and death blurred in his imagination. Ghostly visions, spectral presence, and folklore permeate the narrative, reflecting the intensity of emotions and the permeability of the natural and supernatural worlds in Bronte's vision. The cycle of vengeance and cruelty extends to all inhabitants of Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange, illustrating intergenerational consequences of passion, pride, and unresolved resentment. Bronte explores contrasts of class, morality, and temperament through character interactions, exposing the limitations of social mobility and the destructiveness of rigid hierarchy. Heathcliff's domination of Wuthering Heights and property acquisition enables him to impose suffering upon those he deems responsible for his early misfortunes, exercising psychological mastery and strategic calculation. Hareton, neglected and ill-educated, initially mirrors Hindley's brutishness, yet Cathy's influence begins to awaken intellect, empathy, and capacity for moral discernment, breaking inherited patterns. The moors serve as both refuge and prison, reflecting characters' internal states, isolation, longing, and turbulence, yet offering space for self-discovery and confrontation with passion. Heathcliff's obsession ultimately isolates him, as power, vengeance, and fixation on the past consume his capacity for genuine connection, driving him toward death and spiritual preoccupation. Cathy and Hareton's developing relationship symbolizes reconciliation and regeneration, suggesting hope for healing from inherited trauma and cycles of cruelty. Edgar's death, Heathcliff's loss, and Cathy's maturation converge to reshape the social and emotional landscape of Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. Bronte juxtaposes nature and civilization. The wildness of the moors embodies raw emotion, while estates and social structures constrain, manipulate, or attempt to moderate human behavior. Love and revenge are intertwined motifs, demonstrating the destructive potential of unbridled passion and the enduring consequences of unresolved anger and social injustice. The narrative employs multiple perspectives, particularly Nellie Dean's narration to Lockwood, framing events through observation, memory, and partial understanding, emphasizing subjectivity and moral ambiguity. Bronte emphasizes psychological complexity. Characters act from desire, fear, pride, and compassion, their motivations intertwined with circumstance and social expectation. Heathcliff's treatment of servants and dependents illustrates the extension of personal vendetta into wider social manipulation, demonstrating moral corruption arising from pain and obsession. Catherine's personality, divided between passion and social ambition, reflects the tension between instinctual desire and societal conformity, shaping her choices and fate. The supernatural elements, ghosts, omens, and premonitions, reinforce the intensity of emotional experience and moral consequence, lending mythic resonance to personal suffering. Generational repetition emerges as a theme. The lives of children reflect the consequences of parents' choices, demonstrating cycles of trauma and opportunity for moral intervention. Cathy and Hareton's eventual bond suggests reconciliation, forgiveness, and the transformative potential of education, affection, and moral guidance. Heathcliff's death concludes his obsessive trajectory, leaving unresolved passions to dissipate and enabling younger characters to pursue reconciliation and stability. The moors, central to narrative imagery, evoke freedom, danger, and moral testing, mirroring the characters' internal landscapes and relationships. Thrushcross Grange embodies refinement, civilization, and social aspiration, contrasted against Wuthering Heights' raw intensity, reflecting societal dichotomies in character and setting. Bronte interrogates social class and mobility. Characters navigate hierarchy, inheritance, and wealth, yet personal passion and moral choice frequently subvert social expectation. Revenge is presented as self-destructive. Heathcliff's prolonged obsession consumes vitality, opportunity for redemption, and capacity for moral reflection. Love is portrayed as transcendent yet often destructive, capable of elevating or annihilating, shaping both character destiny and familial legacy. Bronte's prose conveys atmosphere, emotional intensity, and psychological insight, blending Gothic elements with social critique and human observation. Nellie Dean, as narrator, offers moral and emotional commentary, mediating between events and Lockwood's perceptions, illustrating the mediation of memory and subjectivity. Secondary characters, including Isabella Linton and Edgar's extended relations, enrich narrative complexity, illustrating consequences of romantic, social, and moral choices. Isolation, secrecy, and concealment drive conflict, shaping character perception, interaction, and opportunity for both harm and reconciliation. Bronte contrasts human brutality with natural beauty. The moors sustain, torment, and reflect the inner emotional state of inhabitants. Heathcliff's manipulation, particularly of Hareton, underscores psychological insight and strategic patience, blending vengeance with observation of human weakness. Love and hate coexist, entwined in action, speech, and reflection, blurring ethical clarity and complicating moral evaluation. The narrative spans decades, allowing observation of generational influence, cyclical patterns, and evolving social dynamics. Bronte examines the influence of nature, nurture, and circumstance on moral development, demonstrating interplay between environment and character. Redemption emerges as possibility. Younger characters, freed from older generations' burdens, achieve moral growth and personal fulfillment. Cathy's cultivation of Hareton's intellect and sensibility embodies transformation, hope, and potential for breaking inherited cycles of cruelty. Heathcliff's death releases moral and narrative tension, enabling restorative closure for remaining characters. The moors, once emblematic of passion and torment, become spaces of possibility, moral reflection, and reconciliation. Supernatural motifs, ghostly visions, premonitions, and omens underscore the narrative's Gothic atmosphere and moral symbolism. Bronte's portrayal of passion emphasizes intensity, complexity, and consequences, intertwining love, desire, revenge, and mortality. Family legacy, inheritance, and social structure intersect with personal morality, influencing action, opportunity, and consequence. Isolation fosters reflection, obsession, and insight, shaping character decisions and moral perception. Wuthering Heights remains both site of torment and transformation, its walls bearing witness to cycles of love, vengeance, and reconciliation. Bronte's exploration of human emotion, morality, and social constraint reveals tension between instinct, society, and ethical choice. The narrative demonstrates the destructive potential of unbridled passion and the restorative power of empathy, education, and moral reflection. The final generation's resolution illustrates capacity for moral and emotional renewal, achieving balance between freedom, social expectation, and ethical conduct. Heathcliff's obsessive love and vengeance contrast with Hareton and Cathy's emerging virtue and affection, emphasizing generational evolution and opportunity for reconciliation. Through narrative structure, Bronte emphasizes subjectivity, moral complexity, and the interplay of memory, perception, and action. The novel interrogates human capacity for cruelty, forgiveness, love, and resilience, illustrating consequences of choice, environment, and social constraint. Wuthering Heights endures as a study of human passion, moral consequence, and intergenerational influence, blending Gothic intensity with social observation. Bronte's prose conveys both psychological depth and atmospheric richness, illustrating the intertwining of natural landscape, emotional intensity, and ethical complexity. The novel concludes with a sense of closure for the younger generation, moral reflection for survivors, and poetic resonance of enduring human passions. Through narrative tension, Gothic elements, and generational observation, Bronte crafts a meditation on love, revenge, morality, and redemption. The moors, characters, and estates interweave to create a timeless exploration of human emotion, societal constraint, and the enduring impact of personal choice. Wuthering Heights remains a profound narrative on passion, consequence, and the ethical interplay of love, vengeance, and human resilience.